Amsterdam.
Permission to freeze. May it please the court? Please state your name for the court.
My name is Officer Pat Down.
Short for Patricia?
No, actually.
Patrick Starr?
No, but that's a good one.
Oh, you know. Just trying to ease the tension. So, Miss Down, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am a police officer for the Longstreet Police Department, and I was assigned as the school resource officer for Truman High School.
Thank you. So now let's move on to the reason why we're here. What role did you play on February 28th, 2011?
Well, I was breaking up a fight when I was notified by Principal Kelly Norris that there was suspicion of possession by one of our students. So I asked for schedules for both of them, and I called them both down.
And who were the main components in this investigation?
Ms. Taylor Jennings and Mr. Chris Hall.
All right. And what kind of information did you learn from your pre-investigation report about them?
I found out that they were both excellent students, identical GPAs, tied in a valedictorian race, and that Chris was the point guard for the basketball team and Taylor was an athlete.
Impressive. So you said that you got a copy of their schedules, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And if you saw a copy of these schedules, would you recognize them?
Yes, I would.
Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor? I am handing out what is labeled as Exhibit 5 and Exhibit 6. Now, is this a true and accurate representation of the schedules of Chris and Taylor?
From what I gathered that day, yes.
And can you please identify them for the court once more?
Yes, Exhibit 6 here is the class schedule for Taylor Jennings that I received, and Exhibit 5 is the class schedule for Chris Hall that I received.
Your Honor, I move to admit Exhibit 6, 5, and 6 into evidence as Exhibits D and E.
Are there any objections? There are no objections, Your Honor.
Okay, they will be admitted.
All right. So did you notice any similarities when you received each of their schedules?
Yes, I noticed that they both had third period advanced chemistry together.
Alrighty, now I'd like to direct your attention to a different topic. What did you do with both Chris and Taylor that day?
Well, I had them both called down to the office, and they were put into separate rooms so I could interview them.
And during this interview, what did you do with their backpacks?
Well, after getting verbal consent from both of them, I searched each backpack thoroughly.
And what was the first thing you pulled out of Chris Hall's backpack?
I pulled out a film canister.
And if you saw a copy of this film canister, would you recognize it?
Yes, ma'am, I would.
Permission to approach? I'm handing out what is labeled now as Exhibit 1. Now, is this a true and accurate representation of the film canister?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
All right. Permission to admit Exhibit 1 into evidence as Exhibit F.
Are there any objections? No objections, Your Honor. It will be admitted.
All right. Okay, so I mean, there must have been no need for alarm just yet, right?
Well, you would think that. However, when I pulled the film canister out, Chris Hall immediately became a bit defensive and wouldn't look me in the eye.
How odd. And what did you find when you opened that film canister?
Well, I found a clear plastic sandwich baggie which contained a small white rock-like substance.
And if you saw a copy of this plastic sandwich baggie, would you recognize it?
Yes, ma'am, I would.
Permission to approach? I'm handing out what is now labeled as Exhibit 2. Now, Is this object in front of you familiar?
Yes, it is.
And can you identify it for the court?
This is the sandwich baggie that I pulled out. It is empty here in the picture, but it is very similar.
All right, and it's true and accurate representation of the sandwich baggie?
Yes, it is.
Permission to admit Exhibit 2 into evidence as Exhibit G.
Are there any objections? No objections, Your Honor. It will be admitted.
All right. Now, is there anything in particular to be alarming in the behavior of Chris after he saw the sandwich baggie?
Yes, indeed. He actually jumped up, was glaring at me, became extremely defensive, and started yelling things about Trix and Taylor Jennings, despite the fact that I hadn't actually mentioned Taylor Jennings at all during his interview. I definitely found this odd.
Huh. Being rude to an officer. That kid must have really been on. I mean, what did you proceed to do with that White Rock acceptance?
I sent it to the state criminalistics lab.
All right. And if you saw, did they give you any indication of what happened at the state criminalistics lab?
Yes, I received a lab report back.
And if you saw a copy of this lab report, would you recognize it?
Yes, ma'am, I would.
Permission to approach?
Granted.
I am handing out what is now a copy of Exhibit 11. Now, is what is in front of you familiar?
Yes.
Can you please identify it for the court?
It is the lab report that I received back from the state criminalistics lab.
All right. Is it a true and accurate representation?
Yes, ma'am.
Permission to admit Exhibit 11 into evidence as Exhibit H.
Are there any objections? No objections, Your Honor. It will be admitted as Exhibit H.
And, Your Honor, I just realized that I have forgotten to ask to publish copies of each of these exhibits to the jury. Is it too late to do so?
You can publish it this time if you'd like.
All right. Jury, this is a copy of Exhibits 1. And this is Exhibits 2. This is the exhibit I just handed out, 11. And then I have 5 and 6. This is 5. And 6. I'm very sorry about that. Now, Ms. Down, if you look to the results of the examination section of the lab report, what does it reveal?
It revealed that the item inside of the plastic baggie was indeed 0.15 grams of methamphetamine, which is a Class 4 felony.
Wow. That's a lot to take in. I mean, who would have thought? Let me just clarify, Ms. Down. Are you saying that Chris acted all defensive and jumpy and argumentative when all you were doing was asking him some simple questions?
Indeed, it is very unfortunate that that statement is true.
Well done. Thank you so much for your time, Ms. Down. No further questions, Your Honor.